Hello and welcome to DAOwatch Arbitrum episode 2. I am Cryptosi. As ever, I am joined by my delectable co-host, Klaus. Klaus, how are you, sir?
Welcome. Yeah, very good. Some spicy topics today, so keen to get into it. Yeah.
Yes. So off camera, we were just getting started chatting and we almost had the episode off camera before we even pressed the record button. So we had to jump into it. I am delighted to welcome our second host, Paulo Fonseca. Paulo is the creator of Proposals.app. I'm not going to speak too long on you, Paulo. I'll allow you to introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself, how you came to be in Arbitrum.
Thank you for having me. I'm a designer by training, and I've been into DAOs since the first one in 2016, the DAO, where it was a lot of fun and a lot of drama. Started working full time into DAOs in 2021, and eventually tumbled up my way into building DAO tooling. In July last year, actually because of this gentleman here, Klaus, I participated in the GovHack, Arbitrum GovHack in Brussels, ECC, and where we proposed an idea for Arbitrum, which is now what Proposals.app is. And so because of that, I became more involved in Arbitrum DAO. I became unofficially a delegate in September last year, and been into the forums since then. And some people say I ask too many questions, but I kind of see it as my job as a delegate to ask too many questions. So yeah.
Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to share my screen so people can get a look at Proposals.app. So tell me, tell me, Paolo, what's the purpose of Proposals.app? What problem do you feel it solves, and what sorts of things are you planning to add to it as time goes on?
Yeah. So as I said, it started in GovHack in July, and we kind of framed the problem as in nowadays, if delegates want to learn about what happened with a particular proposal, they have to go to a myriad of places. They have to go to the discourse forum, they have to go to the snapshot vote, they have to go to the on-chain votes, and so on and so forth. Which means that the day in the life of a delegate is opening too many tabs and trying to figure out what's happening in between them. And so what we propose for this vision of Proposal.app is that you have a single place where you have all the information about the proposal, from the initial forum post to the off-chain votes and to the on-chain votes as well. For each proposal, you can also see all the versions of that forum post and of the off-chain and on-chain voting. And you can see all the comments, and you can see all the votes that people submitted as well. As you're browsing around, you're seeing the body contents of this proposal that we created in GovHack. This is actually the one that we submitted first in July. But if you browse another more contentious proposal that has actual votes on it, so let's say, can you scroll down a little bit more, maybe? Yeah. For example, the ARB staking one. Yeah, that's a good one.
This one?
Two down.
The ARB stake.
Oh,
yeah, two down.
This one, yeah.
Yeah, this one. So this one is actually a very interesting example. As you can see, it has 2 votes: an off-chain vote 8 months ago, and an on-chain vote 7 months ago, and a bunch of activity, a bunch of comments, and a bunch of votes casted as well. You can scroll to the very bottom and see all the comments as well as a feed. So this is all the comments that people commented on it, and each delegate also has the voting power that they have currently. So you can see that Klaus has 50K of voting power, and 10 days ago he asked a question on this, which is, what delegates should do. They should ask questions. If you click on an on-chain vote, for example, on the side, you can go in and see the details of all the votes. once the load happens, because it's loading like 3,000 votes or something. And yeah, you can see the results, and you can see the table below with everybody that voted and how they voted and so on.
That
And
load really quickly. I was expecting it to have to go and pull the data
yeah,
from.
Andre, my technical co-founder, he is really obsessed with performance. And the most impressive part actually is that this is running in a computer in the middle of Romania. And you just connect it to that computer, and it loaded the results and served it to your house. So yeah.
Brilliant.
We are building Proposals.app in a way that is fully open source and also easy to self-host and self-deploy. And if you go to the GitHub repository that we have, you could also deploy your own version of Proposals.app. But right now, the documentation is not. If you try to do it, reach out to us.
Yeah.
I give it a go. Yeah.
This is really good. There are similar tools. Other DAOs do have similar tools, but not in such depth with such speed. That's the thing that's really got me. That speed.
That's good feedback. Good. That's cool. That's good to hear.
Okay. All right. So cautious of time, so let's move on. We've got two really spicy topics that we want to delve into. One, I think, as an outsider, it's an interesting topic. The first one I want to dive into, which was the vision for Arbitrum, which was laid out by the foundation. For me, as a person who's looked through a lot of other DAOs over the years, in the past, this does seem like a very common theme where people effectively say, look, we're running this DAO. It's not that effective, or it's not that efficient. I tell you what will make it a bit more efficient is if maybe we streamline the decision making process. Klaus, I'll give you a chance to explain from your opinion what this proposal is all about, and what your views are on it, and then I'll bring in Paulo to do the same.
Yeah. Do you want to bring that up on screen as well?
Oh,
the
was it
link.
not? Sorry, I'm doing the wrong share. All right, let me stop sharing that one and start sharing. If I just do the entire screen. There we go.
Yeah. So this was a vision which has been written by the Arbitrum Foundation, and I imagine probably in close collaboration with Off-Chain Labs. One of the biggest things this is exploring is those keywords you mentioned before: efficiency and effectiveness. And the DAO's been running 2 years so far, and it's been effective at a number of things, efficient at a number of things. But the main critique here in this vision is that there's a bunch of bottlenecks. Things are slow. Also, that delegates are overloaded. And what have we got here? Gridlock, inefficient processes and execution, issues with proposal pricing. What else we got here? Minimal cohesiveness. So do all of these kind of individual proposals stack up to a coordinated whole, and strategy, lack of accountability, et cetera, et cetera. So, these are the named issues from Foundation and Off-Chain Labs perspective, and the consulting that they've done with some delegates. And their proposal is that we should establish these Arbitrum-aligned entities. So, and they've selected 5 initial Arbitrum-aligned entities. And I think this particular phrase, in response to some other service providers or entities that have related to the DAO, but also serve many other organizations, other blockchains and ecosystems, some which are competitors to Arbitrum. And Arbitrum's taking a stand. We want to have as many people that are fully aligned, maybe the word exclusive, potentially even not just aligned, could be appropriate to use around this, and get everyone pulling in the same direction. And so they've chosen 5 Arbitrum aligned entities. If we scroll down, and the idea is that as much exploration and kind of delegated decision-making power is run through these. And then we go out to the token holders who have delegated voting power more after the kind of groundwork is done by these AAEs. The 5 AAEs is not necessarily exhaustive of every capability that the DAO needs, and they've recognized that. The big thing that I think is missing right here is I think there is validity in having this kind of structure, like entities which are well-resourced, given specific mandate and resources to execute and have those powerful capabilities. However, what's missing from this proposal is a design system, a structure for how do we select AAEs, what's the right criteria, how do we remove them, how do we audit, and what level of transparency is required from these so that we ensure that we've actually got the right set of Arbitrum aligned entities. So that's kind of missing from the vision, in my opinion, which I think is crucial. I'll stop there and give Paulo his perspective initially.
Yeah, Paulo, do you feel this proposal undermines the current delegates? What are your thoughts on this proposal?
Yeah, it depends on what kind of delegates you're talking about. So I think a bit of helpful context is that there was a secret big delegate meeting in 8th Denver with the Off-Chain Labs team and the foundation and the delegates that had more than 2.5 million ARB. And for a full day, they got together and allegedly aligned and agreed on this vision, particularly. A few weeks ago, I asked on the forum what would have been the outcomes of that meeting, and the people from the foundation replied to, it's this vision that was just posted on. So that's where this comes from. And I think it's a helpful context to have it there.
Sorry, Paulo. Sorry. When you say the delegates that have over 2.5 million ARB, how many delegates is there out of the total pool of delegates? So just so we can get an idea, are we talking about 5 delegates, 50 delegates? How many delegates is that?
I think it's around 20. But again, I'm not sure if everybody went. If everybody that has more than 2.5 million
and
actually
how many delegates are there overall? What's the total amount of delegates?
With the 0.00001 ARB, it's like thousands, hundreds of thousands, 300,000, I think. But with more than 50K ARB, which is the threshold for the delegate decentralization program, it's around 100 or 120 wallets. And the delegate decentralization program has 60 people that apply to it, meaning 60 delegates above 50K ARB that can be paid to be a delegate, basically going around the forum and vote on proposals, provide feedback, etc., etc. I am one of those paid delegates by the DIP.
I'm one of
and
them.
there's a dashboard that every month is done with the delegates that have the best performance, and they get paid more if they have the best performance. So I would say that the good definition of how many delegates there are, how many active delegates there are, is the 60 that applied for the DIP, out of which last month only 24 were actually paid, that actually fulfilled the minimum required to get paid. That's a whole other conversation because the criteria of that is changing and so on and so forth. But people say, colloquially, that there's 50 active delegates in Arbitrum DAO, and I think that's kind of correct. Although for this secret meeting that happened, and by the way, I'm calling it secret because nobody else knew that the meeting was going to happen, other than the invited, I would say around 20. A new addition to that dynamic was that the Off-Chain Labs team was more involved, and the Arbitrum Foundation team was more involved as well. So from a few months ago, both Off-Chain Labs team and the foundation have been more vocal about being more hands-on on the DAO, quote unquote. And that started with some Twitter drama, which people still talk about. And this vision post is kind of the outcome of I would say Off-Chain Labs saying, hey, we want to have a better grip on the DAO. And there's the equivalent from Offchain Labs with another post from AJ Warner, which is part of the Offchain Labs team. And he also posted a strategic vision for Arbitrum. And that post is on the SOS category of the forum. Another interesting detail is that this post right here is on the announcements category of the forum, which is the category in the forum that shows up first right here, right? And only has like the constitution, community guidelines, transparency reports, and now it has this new vision post as if it is already canonical vision and it's already accepted. This is actually one of the criticisms that a bunch of people pointed out about this post, is that it should be either a proposal or it should be have submitted as a strategic objective for the DAO, which is another initiative that's going on. People are submitting objectives for the DAO, and the foundation should have submitted it there as well. So that's also a bit contentious about this proposal. Yeah.
With the top group of 2.5 million, the people who did go or didn't go, I assume if it's secret, you're not going to know who went or who didn't go. If they all vote in the same way, is there a mathematical chance that their vision cannot become reality?
I don't even know if this vision post is going up for a vote. When it was first posted, I asked that to the Arbitrum Foundation people, because I asked maybe this should be on the proposals category because it will eventually go to a vote, right? And the answer that I got was maybe. We still don't know. And so I'm not sure if it's going to become an actual vote. It was actually on that call that you're looking at right now. So the recording of that call was where I asked this and this was talked about.
Right. Okay. So this changes it completely. So we're not. I assumed this was the precursor to a vote that they would put through. That I guess.
I think that's a fair assumption, and I think a lot of people are assuming that, but it's not. When I asked, the answer that I got was maybe.
Yikes. Paulo.
Your reaction is
yes, because
meme worthy.
Yeah, I feel like often in DAOs these sorts of things will happen. You'll know there's a group. Sometimes they call them a cabal. It's a word that's often used, and that group has got enough power to push through whatever they want to push it through. Generally, they give you the courtesy, at least, of pushing it through. In this scenario, I think you're right to point out that it shouldn't have gone.
If you look closely to what this proposal is sharing, in the last part of the proposal, it says social changes to the governance process. A little bit up, I think, before those bullets here. So that's it. Social change to the proposal process, meaning we don't want to submit a constitutional on-chain vote to change the constitution of the DAO and change the meta governance processes of the DAO. Because right now on the constitution of Arbitrum DAO, it says if you want to do something in the DAO, you have to post on the forum, wait 7 days, do an off-chain vote on Snapshot, get the favorable result, and then do an on-chain vote on chain and pass your proposal, right? So the governance process is defined in the constitution right now as such. But what this vision for the future of Arbitrum post is suggesting, proposing, de facto implementing maybe, is a social change to the proposal process that basically gatekeeps who can make proposals and to who, which is what's there delineated right now. And this very change is not going up to a vote as of now. That's why it's being called social change, as in we don't need to vote about this, right? We all agree that the new governance process of the DAO should be this, right? Wink, wink. And so, yeah, I think that's even more serious, right? Because the biggest changes in all DAOs are meta governance changes, right? The changes that change the governance process of the DAO. And so that's what this post is attempting to do with this last section.
Okay, let's give you the benefit of the doubt. let's imagine that these things that you're saying are all perfectly logical and this is somewhat a power grab. What do you think?
I didn't say that, by the way.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Sorry. I will say that. I'm allowed to say that as the non-Arbitrum native. I'm allowed to throw out that criticism. Cryptosi is saying this.
Cryptosi. It may be helpful if you've seen this kind of pattern or scenario play out in other DAOs from your history, because you're an OG. Yeah, have you
Yeah.
seen that kind of the labs and the foundation kind of retake control?
Loads of times. Loads of times. So often with DAOs, they either move two ways. So it's either an exit strategy where they'll move to a DAO because the team wants to exit. So they'll be like, all right, we don't really want to have nothing to do with this anymore. I want to build something else. So now it's a DAO. Go ahead, do what you want to do. I'm going to take my 50% team allocation and I'm just going to exit. So often you have it that way. Sometimes you have it another way where, and it's always the excuse of efficiency. The most recent, or the most, I don't want to say, the one that upset me the most was a project called Evmos. No, well, there's two. There was one called Decred, which I think possibly even predates the DAO, which I know a lot of Ethereum native DAOs say was the first DAO. There was a project called Decred. Their power move was similar, but what they said was, we're getting too many proposals. It's too much work for us to go through all these proposals. What we're going to do is we're going to have a spam filter. Now, that spam filter is going to be 3 or 4 guys. We're going to decide what becomes a proposal. And effectively, they killed the DAO. Evmos, they done a similar thing to this where they said, we're going to have different departments. This department's going to do this. That department's going to do that. That department's going to do that. In Evmos, although I was an outsider, I said, I've seen this before, your DAO will die. I've said it, your DAO will die. When this happens, your DAO dies. Your project might do well, but the DAO is dead. Now, watching it again, you watch it unfold, and to be honest with you, it's always the same thing. And we touched on it before, and I said it, I've not really read through all the proposals properly. I got through the first few, but now I'm even thinking that these people because I don't know, right? But these people that are proposing, I don't know if they're part of the 2.5 million gang. Because there's a lot of people who seem to be just like, oh, this seems like welcome a long overdue change. Now, I don't know who gets into a DAO to say that this sort of change is a long overdue change. Like, to me, it's.
I think let me just offer some context there. I think that the initial reaction of people to this proposal is like, oh, finally, the foundation has an opinion about how the DAO should run. For the past 2 years, the foundation has really been very neutral. At least publicly facing communication, the foundation really has been very neutral. As in, people propose proposals. Sometimes they're stupid proposals. Sometimes they pass and get funded, and the foundation says nothing. Right? Ever since 2 months ago or something, when they publicly declared that they're going to be more hands-on, which kind of coincides with Trump coming to power and the regulatory landscape being, favorable. Then they started to go into proposals posts and opine about if the DAO should approve or not this proposal. Right? There was a month ago, maybe there was a proposal to do an onboarding program to onboard new delegates in Arbitrum DAO that had passed an off-chain vote in December, and they were now going for an on-chain vote to actually get the funding. And the foundation commented saying, we think the delegates should vote against this, and the proposal did not pass. And that's the foundation being more hands-on in the DAO, right? And so people are reacting to this vision post as in, oh, finally the foundation has an opinion, and that's I guess they think that's a good thing, right? A welcome change, like you put it. So that's where that initial feedback comes from, I think. Now, I'm very wary of people commenting on the forum without actually having read the whole proposal. I think that happens a lot. I think people vote on proposals without actually reading the whole proposal as well, from what I've been seeing. And so we should take some comments with a grain of salt. But yeah.
To be fair, 3 things. Well, first of all, it's quite a long proposal, and it's not the only proposal that delegates are going to read, which I guess speaks to the delegates being overworked. The other two things, as you were speaking, that came to my mind was I assumed that Trump coming into power would open up DAOs. So we kind of, well, I don't know how much happens in Arbitrum. In other DAOs, what would happen is you would have these people who are grandfathered in because they are investors. And the DAOs created, and these companies, they've got whopping heavy hands, big weighted votes. Now, a lot of these companies would not have voted before under the old American regime because they would have been afraid that their votes makes them complicit in whatever activities the DAO's done. So they were too scared to vote. So I assumed when Trump comes into power, now all of these companies that are sitting on the sideline are going to get up and say, okay, do you know what? We're not scared anymore. We will vote. And it seems like that's not what's happened here.
Well, in Arbitrum, actually, something somewhat similar happened in the beginning of this month, in the beginning of April. There was a lot of new delegation being done, a lot of voting power being delegated for the first time, which people assume is from Off-Chain Labs team, because up until now they've been a bit wary about delegating their voting power for regulatory reasons, and now it's more free game, and so they did it. And so in the beginning of this month, we have, I think, 12 to 14% more voting power delegated, which you can, if you look at the charts, it's like the delegated voting power was going down, and they had like a spike in the beginning of this month, and it changed the power balance of Arbitrum DAO, because the biggest top delegate 2 weeks ago is not the biggest top delegate today, right? And so, to be more precise, Entropy Advisors is now the biggest delegate in Arbitrum DAO. And Entropy Advisors is one of the Arbitrum aligned entities as specified in this vision post. And they got a lot of delegation. They went from 8 million to 20 million in 1 week. And they went to number one, right? So that happened. And at the same time that this vision is being proposed, and at the same time that Entropy Advisors is also proposing other programs for incentives, for example, for the DAO. And so that change in power is happening. And I think it's interesting also to discuss what will be the consequences of it, because if indeed the Arbitrum aligned entities, as specified in this post, will be the biggest delegates by far, and with the social change in the governance process that's proposed here, they have basically veto capability to allow certain proposals or not, then who is the DAO, right? Because then it becomes much easier to point out blah, 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 A, B, C, D are the DAO, right? And so, that's all going on at the same time right now. And also, I think it's not fair to treat all the same 5 Arbitrum aligned entities the same. So Off-Chain Labs, it's its own thing. They are the creators of the technology. They also do other stuff other than Arbitrum, by the way. They also have an investment arm, etc., etc., etc. And they are the OGs, shads that invented all this. Arbitrum Foundation was created to be the legal entity for the DAO, and they've been, running themselves for 2 years with a budget from the DAO. Which, by the way, the first proposal in Arbitrum DAO was contentious from the get-go, right? Because it was the AIP one where 750 million ARB was already given to the foundation. And then the foundation came to the DAO, hey, you approved that we gave this money to the DAO? And they're like, what? No. But we already did it. Can you just rubber stamp it? And so since then, the relationship with the foundation, between the foundation and the DAO, has been a bit contentious because the first proposal was a shit show. And then we have OPCO, which is like a second foundation, basically, another legal entity for the DAO that is being stood up right now, which had elections for the Transparency and Oversight Committee, which were also a bit contentious, and where people from Off-Chain Labs and the foundation are also there. And then we have the GCP, which is the Gaming Catalyst program that was formed almost a year ago kind of 10 months ago. And just recently had also another drama where people were proposing to claw back the funds because in 10 months they didn't show enough work, let's say, at least from the point of view of the DAO. And also they proposed to raise their salaries and report with less frequency. And so I guess that kind of triggered people to be like, oh, no, you have to return the funds. And it was a big drama as well a few weeks ago. And then the last one is Entropy Advisors, which they became a service provider to the DAO a year ago. And 6 months ago, they passed a proposal where they are getting paid every month and they're going to get the bonus in the end of the year if the DAO so decides. And they are exclusive to Arbitrum DAO for 1 year, 6 months more from today, kind of. And these entities are all very different and they all have different agendas, I'd say. And it's not fair to put them all in the same bucket. Like, if you look closely at how they behave, how they vote, what they propose, etc., you will see that the gatekeeping is not all the same. There's several forms of gatekeeping, and the power moves are all not the same. There's several forms of power moves, and it's all playing at the same time. From my point of view, as a governance geek, I just love this. I just love all of this because it's very, very interesting to see it play out in real time, where the human animal is very territorial and very sensitive to power. And in DAOs, from my point of view, this is the test bed of the governance in general. We are prototyping and experimenting with different governance experiments, and in Arbitrum DAO being one of the biggest DAOs that there is, that actually controls stuff, that actually has things at stake, it's very, very interesting to see all these dynamics at play. So yeah, I that's why I'm a delegate here, because it's amazing to watch, and also to poke sometimes, because as a small delegate, I also like to poke the bear a bit.
As a smaller delegate, I guess the question would be, the people who are delegating to you, do you have a responsibility to report to them? In that, if you're the type of delegate who has, I guess, maybe, I don't want to say flip-flop, but maybe when Arbitrum Foundation have said, listen, I think you should vote such and such a way, do delegates feel that pressure even though they have their own, I guess, delegation behind them who are keeping them in that bracket to get funded effectively? Are there, I guess what I'm wondering is, what's the accountability that delegates hold to the people who are delegating to them? And also with these big delegates like Entropy and these guys, is there a tool that will show how many, I know it probably could be gained, but is there a tool that will show how many different users are actually delegating to these people, how much fees those users have generated on chain, like how regular are those users? Or is it just that some of these big delegates have got grandfathered in people who maybe collected a big amount of the airdrop for whatever reason, and they're just voting or they're just delegating to certain people? Are there tools that show those dynamics within Arbitrum currently?
Yeah. So right now, the tooling that exists to see delegation movements is not very. It's not very good, to be honest. In Proposals.app, we are going to have a delegate section where you can see all delegates and who delegated to who and when and by how much. And more interestingly, I would think like this big wallet was delegating to delegate A, but then it changed to delegate B, right? At the same time where a proposal was being voted, right? So we can maybe infer that because this delegate didn't vote in the way that this big wallet wanted, they changed the delegation, right? Although redelegation, meaning wallets that were delegating to A start delegating to B, those kind of movements very rarely happen, like very rarely. delegation is really sticky. Once people delegate, it stays delegated forever. Because honestly, most people don't care about governance that much. But the reality of the situation right now is that the biggest wallets that are delegating and therefore creating these big delegates are vesting wallets that got allocations of ARB from the either investors or the team and so on and so forth. And those are the ones that are deciding who the big delegates are. And not only that, right? So I think that the biggest wallet that has the most amount of ARB vested on it, meaning it's locked for now and it unlocks every month, the biggest one is delegating its voting power to Lobbyfy, which is lobbying protocol where people can buy votes to vote on Arbitrum. And that also created an interesting dynamic where, the biggest amount of voting power now is available for sale. For some proposals, not all, and there's a whole other discussion about vote buying going on Arbitrum as well. But the big chunk of the constituency, let's say, on Arbitrum DAO are investors and teams vesting wallets.
Yeah.
And which means two things. Means that at the 16th of every month, there's an unlock, and people that have those wallets, they have to decide, will I sell the ARB and get some money because, to recoup my investment, or will I keep it and, the voting power stays there for whoever's delegated. And most people decided to sell. So we see the delegation voting power going down and down every month, almost at the day of the unlock, meaning that people are selling immediately after it gets unlocked. So we will see also how that affects the ranking of the delegates as well, because it depends on what constituency of delegators you have, if your voting power goes up or down, right, over time. Yeah, there's not a lot of tools in Proposals.app right now. For example, we show the user with its voting power, and whenever it's a vote, so if you go, let's say, to the the events, but yeah, we could do that. Exactly, we could do that one. So if you scroll down, way more for each user. So for example, can you go more? Scroll down. Or you can actually filter just for comments. So if you go to the bar at top and say comments, only votes, only votes. So you can see that Castle Capital, for example, voted 7 months ago with 59K ARB, but now they have 551K, right? So they are up 828% in voting power from 7 months. Lobbyfy is up.
Yeah, that's good.
Lobbyfy is up 1,800% in 7 months because they had 1 million almost, and now they have 18 million, right?
Mm.
And so it would be more useful if tools would show this, right? One of the things that we're trying to do at Proposals.app is that every comment that people comment on the forum shows with their voting power, right? Because you don't know who is commenting on the forum and how powerful they are, because it's not connected with their wallets, right? So, yeah.
Paulo, let me ask you a hypothetical, because I think what you've got here with Proposals.app is like a really unique opportunity with whatever you're doing in terms of the data warehousing by pulling all these different pieces of discrete information together. So imagine a hypothetical. So someone puts forward a proposal for an incentive program to give, millions of ARB away to different people. But that person, if you look at who they've received delegation from, is actually an investor. And how would you do anti-collusion detection that investor is not basically guiding that proposal writer to basically, allocate incentives to other, companies that are part of their portfolio at the same time, right? Do you follow what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I do. And the problem is that right now, the tooling that we have to do that. So, for example, if you go, for example, to Tally and you go to the community section where you see all the delegates and you click on the delegate and you see everybody that delegated to that delegate, it only shows you the wallet addresses that have delegated and when it has delegated. That's it. And that's not enough information to figure out what you're trying to figure out on that question, which is who is delegating to who and who is maybe propping someone to propose something, right? That would benefit them as a proxy. This happens a lot in DAOs. A lot of times, the proposer is not the proposer that shows up on the forum. There's someone else in the back pulling the strings and be like, maybe you should be the one that posts this proposal, right? Because the original agent doesn't want to be themselves, and so that can be tracked with delegation. But also, if people want to hide that, they can use other wallets that are not related and so on. So that's a thorny problem.
It's hard to
I do think that the tooling right now is not enough at all. And we're working towards being better than Proposals.app, as in if you would click now in JFX Labs, it will open a whole page. Well, this is our temporary solution, but it's not our own data. But it will open up a profile page of that delegate with all the information there. And so we're working on that as well, but it's not ready yet. One thing that I also think is very interesting is correlating the delegation movements with the votes, meaning people voted something here and then the delegation changed. This is something that everybody thinks happens a lot. It doesn't really happen a lot, but when it does happen, it happens big time, right? So that's also something interesting, right? Because delegates should be more accountable to how they vote, right? And the ultimate accountability is, you lost voting power because you voted that way, right? Meaning, someone that was delegating voting power to you didn't like your vote, so they delegated away from you. Or the reverse as well. You're a small delegate, you voted in the correct way and in the eyes of someone, and you deserve more voting power, right? So those things are worthy to show and to highlight as well, I think.
There's
layers within layers within layers. Yeah.
yeah. There is a lot to unpick here. I've got so many questions. How do you feel about the collision between showing the information and knowing about who's voting for what, and people's right to privacy and their right to maybe delegate without somebody snooping around and saying, oh, well, you are delegating to this person and such and such? Where do you think the balance should be, if there should be a balance?
Yeah, well, in public blockchains, that information is public. And so it's just a matter of having tools and front ends and someone doing the work of taking care of that information and showing it in a relevant way and designing that experience. Right? Actually, I can show you an example of this in Proposals.app. If you share again, and if you go to a proposal, let's say the GCP proposal, the GCP clawback proposal. So there's something we're doing right now in Proposals.app that kind of syncs to that. So if you go to the top and search for GCP, let's search, GCP. Okay, so that one GCP clawback, yeah, go ahead. So it has 66 comments. If you don't need to expand, but if you scroll down, you scroll down a little bit more. Okay, can you go up? Sorry, up. More. You see that right there?
Deleted post?
Yeah. Meaning, if you go to the forum and you look at this proposal, you just see as real post and then the next post, right? But in Proposals.app, you see that there was a post there that was deleted.
And who deleted it? And what was the post?
That's the part where we're preserving the privacy. We're saying that there was a post, and we're saying that the post was deleted.
All right.
Which does not show on the forum, right? On the forum, it just disappears.
Yeah.
But we're not showing who posted it, and we're not showing what was posted.
So
but
if
this
it could
is
be
the
author deleted it themselves, or the moderator of the forum deleted it. Yeah.
Correct. But
either.
this is a tightrope that we're trying to navigate in regards to what you're asking, which is the public information is that there was a post in between those two. That's public information. You can go on the forum and figure it out for yourself. It's not easy to figure out, but it's possible for you to figure out on the forum by yourself. In Proposals.app, we're showing it that there was a deleted post, right? And I chose this particular proposal because on this proposal, there's a lot of deleted posts because it is a controversial proposal. And so if you keep scrolling down, you'll find more and more deleted posts.
Can you say who deleted it, at least? If it was deleted by
we don't know that
themselves or by the admins of the forum. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we don't know that.
Because then it's communicating, was it censorship or was it the author chose it down themselves, right?
Correct, yeah. Well, on this particular one, I know one of them was censorship because I was reading it live on the forum and it disappeared. And I was like, okay, this is weird. And then the author messaged me on the forum saying, hey, someone just deleted my post, yada, yada, yada. And if you read the comments, then the author also posts on the thread saying, my post was deleted and so on and so forth. But this is exactly the kind of thing that we should be very mindful about, is that the tools that we use to govern ourselves in DAOs, they imprint certain behaviors, right? And if you change the tools, you can change the behaviors. One of the things that we're trying to do in Proposals.app is to bring way more transparency. Just first and foremost, to bring everything in the same place, right? We have the forum discussion, we have the snapshot votes, and we have the on-chain votes all in the same place. So just from the nature of seeing everything in the same place, your human brain will start to make correlations and start to figure out, oh, so this delegate voted for on the off-chain, but voted against on the on-chain. Celebration from Mac.
Well, this is a very piece here. Actually, I want to drill in around tools for DAOs, right? So most DAOs, they're all using discourse forums, and there's hundreds of them, probably thousands of them on the planet, right? Using the stock standard discourse, and is how far we've got in 2025 is the way that we're going to deliberate and decide, and do governance, or is there an evolution beyond, discourse that has some more power and granularity, and should we be forking discourse and doing something more custom? I'm sure you got some thoughts on that.
I have opinions. I mean, to build Proposals.app, I had to go really deep on what Discourse does and how it works. So Discourse is a 20-year-long project, right? Discourse is the de facto forum platform of the internet and has been running, and it's open source for 20 years, meaning that it has endless functionality. Like if you're an admin of a forum that runs on Discourse, you can do crazy things that nobody knows about. And so, and get away with it, by the way. And so, I actually have a newfound respect for Discourse because once I had to see how it works in the back, I was like, okay, this is actually a very solid product. It is the best forum technology that we have right now. The problem with Discourse and DAO specifically is that most DAOs just go for the Discourse posted instances where they pay a subscription to Discourse. And that version does not allow you to customize it with plugins. It only allows you to have Discourse sanctioned plugins. And that's not enough. For example, if you compare the forum from ENS, which is self-hosted by them, meaning they can customize it, the ENS forum has way more functionality than any other DAO forum because they really decided to go the self-hosted way, and they can have plugins, and you can log in with your wallet, and you can have notifications for proposals on-chain and off-chain, a bunch of other things that they decided to pursue. The problem is that most DAOs have just the vanilla option of Discourse, and it's not that useful. But a bigger question as well is humans don't deliberate well when it is async and behind the screen. Humans deliberate well in person, live conversation, off the cuff, right? That's why we have presidential debates and not presidents AMA on Reddit texting to each other, right? And so if we're talking about how do we deliberate in the governance setting, it should be like this, like live streamed, always on full on deliberation, right? Human to human, not behind the keyboard screen. And we should have learned by now, with 30 years or something of internet, that the human nature changes when you're behind the screen and you're anonymous and you can type whatever you want, right? And people get way nastier than they should. And so we're also seeing that in DAO governance, right? On this vision proposal that the foundation posted, the most liked comment is an anonymous comment that someone decided to make that nobody knows who they are. And it is a comment criticizing the proposal heavily.
Let's bring that up.
Saying basically that the DAO has ended with this post. And it has the most amount of likes. And to the point where even liking that post is a brave, courageous act at this point. Because liking that post is basically saying, as a delegate, I didn't have the courage to post this, but I agree with what's being said there, right?
Yes. And I want to speak to this piece a little bit because, I've been around and in the DAO for about 20 months.
This one right here.
Yeah. From Decentralize. And speaking truth in a DAO is actually very costly. And so we end up having a lot of people holding back from speaking the truth because they want to preserve optionality for, future relationship with Arbitrum Foundation or Off-Chain Labs or a given proposal author. And even to the, writing out takes an act of courage. Even being seen, if you click the number 15 there, Cryptosi, I think you'll see, or if you click the number, it'll show you everybody who's brave enough to even agree with that statement. There's me and Paulo in there and a bunch of others. But it can get to the extent in a DAO that people are looking at all of that list and then maybe, counting you out of the in-group or in favor. So this is a whole bunch of signaling stuff which is going on.
I mean, not even to the extent. Not even to the extent. I've had experiences that I think I can share where, on the other posts for the GCP clawback proposal, that deleted that post that was deleted, right? Someone came up to the thread and commented something, and that post was censored by the moderators. And I had a like on that post, right? And so because I had a like on that post, the author reached out to me privately, the Discourse forum, saying, "Hey, my post was deleted. I saw you liked it. My post was deleted. I'm going to post it again." And someone from another entity in the DAO also reached out to me. "Hey, I saw you like that post from that guy. That guy is a scammer. You should not trust him." I was like, "Okay, interesting. Why is he a scammer? Because of this, like Twitter link saying that he's a scammer and so on." I was like, "Okay, I'm a delegate. I should figure this out. Like, is the guy that posted this a scammer, and is he posting fake stuff to, change the discourse of the proposal, blah, blah, blah." And for a whole afternoon, I was playing detective, trying to figure out, is this guy a scammer or not? Or is this other person that told me that this guy is a scammer or not? To the point where there's a public Twitter thread of someone else accusing the original poster of being a scammer because he borrowed some money and so blah, blah, blah. And this guy is suing this guy, and I'm reading like court documents of the suit, and I'm like, okay, what is this, right? So
what am I doing with my life on a Friday night?
What am I doing with my life? Trying to figure out if a guy from Florida sued a guy from whatever, or Orlando, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and it hinges on the, at the time, most controversial proposal in the Arbitrum DAO, which was the clawback of the GCP funds, right? And so just because I liked the post, I was looped in all this stuff because I had the context of it, and people knew I had the context of it, right? And so it is very, very interesting to see that these things play out at the micro level when the information is public, right? When you like a post, everybody sees that you like the post. When you post something, everybody sees that you posted. I think there's also an even more subtle layer where Arbitrum DAO, for example, we have a Telegram chat with all the delegates that is a private Telegram chat. And on that chat, I mean,
Paulo, just sorry to cut you. What's the threshold for delegates to get into your secret private Telegram chat?
Well,
Not
yeah.
it's private. Yeah.
So yeah, the fact that
Yeah.
the fact that the well, let's tell that story from the beginning. There was a chat before, and that chat in September disappeared, was deleted. And I don't know what were the criteria to get on that chat, but someone was managing that chat, someone was owning that chat, and only one person had the power to delete that chat. But, and I'm not saying that that person deleted the chat, but I'm saying that that chat disappeared. On the day that chat disappeared, I created a new chat and I invited most delegates to it and made them admins and so on, so they can invite other people. And for the next 2 days, we kind of deliberated on that chat. What would be the criteria to include people on the chat? So right now, if you go to the Arbitrum DAO forum and you search for Telegram, you see a thread that I created saying there's a new Telegram delegates chat, which is private. And another post saying, and these are the criteria to belong and to get into this chat. And reach out to me and I'll add it to it, right? So the criteria is public. The existence of this chat is public. The contents of the chat are supposed to be private. But in the chat with 160 something people, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of screenshotting on that chat. Let's just say that.
A few leaks.
And also, it happens the same dynamics, right? People post stuff on that chat. People like some other people's posts, messages on that chat, right? And that's all the power dynamics at play either, as well. But on a more private sphere, not a fully public sphere that is the forum, right? So yeah, so the criteria is that you have to have a certain voting power and or belong to an organization that has certain voting power.
I want to speak to this piece around asymmetric kind of consumption and engagement, because I think, you know, there's a problem here when all of these people, decentralized workers working in this decentralized space, when you've just got some, you know, text message in your Telegram or a text post on a forum, and then you're looking at the emojis on that. Human beings can tend to extrapolate in their mind and fill in with their imagination a whole lot of extra stuff. Oh, this person's against me, or this person doesn't agree with me. And they've been making a whole lot of stuff up, right? And it's actually, this is really not good for us as human beings. To Paulo's point, we actually need to, you know, someone be making up a whole story about you, but actually if you to spend, you know, a day with them or have a meal with them and actually realize, we're actually more on the same page than we realized, and can actually work together. And I think this is part of the missing piece, actually. I think we need more IRL, we need more real-time engagement, we need more trust building. As much as like this technology is trying to be trustless engineering of systems, you still got this human layer, which is hugely critical to make this whole governance and DAO thing work.
Yep. And I would add that I'm kind of an example of that. Like I just started being a delegate 6 months ago, and let's just say that I came off strong, right? So I joined the chat and I was criticizing some stuff, and people were like, "Who the hell is this guy? What are you talking about?" And 2 weeks ago we had a conference in Bucharest where Arbitrum was one of the sponsors, and Arbitrum had a big presence in there, and a bunch of Arbitrum delegates came, and it was sponsored by the DAO and organized by the DAO organically. Like we had the booth, delegates were on the booth representing Arbitrum, presenting it to the attendees. We had an hackathon that was also being run by Arbitrum people and so on. And the main output in terms of the delegates from that conference was, we were like maybe 10 delegates there, I think, 8, 9, 10 delegates in there. And at the end of the 4 days of conference, we were all like, you know what? In the beginning, I didn't like you, but now I like you a lot. And so we spent basically 4 days together having dinners and talking about that DAO, even having, you know, an official delegate meeting in Bucharest about it, and discussing the future of the DAO and so on. And that trust building happened there, right? In person. And it changed the opinions of each other about each other, right? And I think it was very insightful to see that happen in real time. And it's honestly, it's like this: like you have all this context about someone just from the forum and the chat, but you make up this idea of what they are in real life, and then you see them, and the context is so stark, and you're like, oh, I have to reevaluate my priors. This person actually, you know, knows what they're talking about, or has experience on this thing, or whatever it is, right? their opinion has some more validity than what I thought it had. And we need that those things to calibrate those expectations about others and opinions about others, because otherwise, again, internet forum is the worst medium to deliberate stuff. We should have learned by now that that's the case with 30 years of people fighting on the internet.
So, Paulo, with that in mind, I'm cautious of time, and I really want to get on to the next topic, and we've run well over. I know Klaus is going to be furious. This episode is going to go out in like 3 different pieces. So, I wanted to ask you if we could have anybody on from the Arbitrum ecosystem. I don't want to say to. I will say I can say what I want, I guess, to defend the new vision for Arbitrum. Who would that let's say you can pick out of 2 or 3, if you can name individuals, who would those 2 or 3 individuals be that we could get onto Dalwatch Arbitrum, that me and Klaus could sit down for a period of time and say to them, right, look, guys, give us a little bit more context into why you're planning on doing this, and give us, I guess, answers to the questions that are coming up from delegates and from people like myself who are possibly just Arbitrum users. Who would those people be? Who would the 3 people be?
I think I can give you a good set. So T-Norm from Gauntlet would be one of those. I think he agrees with the vision, and I think he supports that vision. And he is the 3rd biggest delegate, I think, or something like that, or 4th now. Well, the rankings have changed, so I think right now he's the 4th biggest delegate. So T-Norm would be one. But I also think you should have people that are not so big of delegates, like people like Jojo the Cow. I think maybe is also favorable to it, but he has a lot of context about the DAO, really a lot of context about the DAO, and he very well expresses his opinions about stuff. So Jojo would be another one. Entropy advisors as well, but they are currently the biggest delegate and one of the entrenched Arbitrum Align entities, right, as specified there. And I'm excluding people from the foundation because they are the original posters, and so of course, and they've already shared a bunch of context about this post and this vision. But yeah, so yeah, someone's from Entropy, probably Sam, Jojo the Cow, and T-Nord from Gauntlet would be the 3 ones that I would send your way.
Right, let's squeeze in this final topic which we wanted to get discussed, which was the Arbitrum Foundation Transparency Report for 2024. Now, for whatever reason, I've decided to pitch it away from my other screen. So let me quickly find the link.
It's also on the announcement channel on the announcements category in the forum.
Just dropped it into your Telegram. Yeah.
Oh, did you send it? Right. Okay. I'll get the Telegram one. Let me share the screen.
Don't accidentally expose your private Telegram. Yeah.
I will not.
Or do just for the
one. Why not? Let me see. Where is it? Oh, it's not actually come up because it's a Chrome tab. It's not a Chrome tab. Right, here we go. I've got it. It's opened up in Safari. So here we go. Right. So here is the Arbitrum Transparency Report, which came out almost a month ago. Klaus, do you want to explain this, or shall I just hand straight over to Paulo? As Paulo seems to be the only person in the entire Arbitrum ecosystem who's got any interest in what the foundation are spending their money on at all.
You can see, me clicking on that. Oh, you can see my little emoji there. So Arbitrum has done 2 of these transparency reports, I think, so far. They're a big PDF which details a ton of different activity. It's more than just a transparency report. It's also kind of like, a record of accomplishments and things that are happening. But I think the spiciest piece is really the financials. And the main critique that I have, Paulo or others have, is it's actually not that transparent, right? So the categories are rolled up at pretty high level. I'm not sure what page that's on if you keep scrolling down.
It's almost the last one.
Now, it's a good record of all of the cool stuff that's happening, and there's a lot of cool stuff that Arbitrum is up, so that gets up to, so respect for that. Where are you? One more. Find what page you're looking for.
Wow. Oh, I
Page
see.
40,
I see numbers.
44.
Yeah, it's the one previous to that. Yeah, that one.
There we go.
Yeah. So, how transparent is this? How transparent does it need to be? Some pushback from the foundation around transparency is they don't want to be too transparent because that gives them a competitive disadvantage to, say, Optimism or other, ecosystems. So they don't want to reveal behind the kimono exactly everything that is going on. I'm curious on Paulo's take on this, and also how do we situate what level of transparency is needed in a new structure like these Arbitrum aligned entities. Should they all be operating to the same level, or should Arbitrum Foundation and Off-Chain Labs be treated differently in terms of the level of transparency versus new Arbitrum aligned entities? Curious to hear your takes, Paulo.
Yeah. Well, first of all, as you pointed out, this is posted 3 weeks ago. And it is probably the most important report of Arbitrum DAO, like in general, because it is the one that addresses the most amount of money and how it has been, which is the money that the foundation spends. By far, the foundation is the biggest spender in the whole DAO, from the money that they got from the DAO in the beginning of the DAO 2 years ago, and also on a renewed proposal 5-6 months ago for partnerships. And so the delegates in the DAO should be paying attention to this report, because this is the main thing that they should be aware of, how the DAO is spending money. That's a specific amount that you just selected. It's 16 million in general and administrative stuff of hard US dollars. Are you comfortable, Christos? Are you feeling something about it?
My spidey senses are tingling. I love a general category after you've had all the categories that matter. I love when, and I especially
you know that bottom drawer that you have where you put all random stuff. That's how it feels like.
And I love when that bottom drawer with the random stuff has got more than the technical infrastructure and the events and marketing.
Now,
carry on.
we don't. One of the critiques that we could do to this report is that it's not specific enough, right? So we could assume that general and administrative is salaries and blah 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 compensation packages of everybody involved in the foundation, the 32 people that are employees there, whatever, right?
And
it could be
Off-Chain Labs as well, right?
Off-Chain Labs, I would assume, would be either research and development and technical infrastructure, or even ecosystem growth, right? So, again, we have no idea. What we do know from this slide alone is that from January 1st to December 31st, the foundation has spent $74 million in USD cash and 39 million ARB, which, if we average out the price of ARB during 2024, it gives like $1 per ARB. So you can basically add 74 million to 39 million, sorry. And you can come up with, $100 and something million that the foundation has spent in 2024. And so we should be, as delegates and as part of the DAO, we should be looking into, is this an amount that makes sense for a foundation like the one that we have in Arbitrum to spend? Is the return of this on this investment being something that the DAO considers worthy, right? The fact that this report was posted 3 weeks ago, and there's no single question on the forum about this report is very interesting, right? The fact that the only comment is just me putting this on IPFS, which, by the way, the original link was a Google Drive link. And that's why I put it on IPFS, because, you can change Google Drive links content. But right now they edited the post to have a docs.arbitrum.foundation website link for the PDF. Which basically just means that since this was posted, there might have been several versions of this PDF, actually. And that's why I put it on IPFS, because, it becomes on-chain and it doesn't change. So, this is a very interesting report that people should look into. And we should be asking questions about what happened here. And also what's going to happen in 2025, right? The foundation started 2025 with almost 30 job openings to recruit for 30 positions. And we don't know if those are going to be 30 additional people that are going to be joining the foundation, or, if some people are leaving and we need to replace those people and so on. But in 2024, the foundation had 32 employees. And in the beginning of 2025, the foundation opened almost 30 job positions, which makes me wonder, okay, once we have this report about 2025, how much did the foundation would have spent in 2025 comparatively, right? And so I think there's not enough oversight around what the foundation does. The transparency that the foundation gives is just this report once every 6 months. And, the foundation is the foundation. Foundation has no competition. People are employed by the foundation to do a job that they can do, in a good way, in a bad way, nobody really knows. The only market indicator of how well Arbitrum is doing or how bad Arbitrum is doing is honestly the token price, which is not very favorable lately. And so delegates in Arbitrum DAO should be much more inquisitive about this and ask way more questions about this. At least that's my take. I haven't asked my questions about this yet. There's been a lot of conversations about this off the forum, a lot of conversations about this report off the forum, by several people, even people that are not related to Arbitrum DAO. I've seen a lot of reactions of pure shock at these numbers from people in the ecosystem. And so, this is something that we should be paying much more attention, I think.
When you look at the treasury as it stands, it looks as if there's 167 million in the treasury.
That's the Arbitrum Foundation one.
Yes. So if they're currently spending, give or take, 100 million per year, does this mean that the Arbitrum Foundation has a runway of about 18 months, give or take?
Yeah, that's safe to assume. Yeah.
They also have other tokens which are locked and on a vesting schedule which is unlocking.
Right. Okay. So this treasury is only showing the unlocked tokens.
Yeah, the available ones. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, it would help if it showed the locked ones as well, I guess, because that set off a little bit of panic in my mind. If they're spending 100 million per year and they've got 167 million.
Right. But the issue is that the amount that's locked is in ARB, and ARB price fluctuates, right? And so, yeah. I mean, even that 67 million that you have there from 93 million ARB is using December 31 price, which is, maybe double than what it is now.
Yeah.
So right now, the 67 million is actually 30 something million. It's way less.
Yeah.
Because token price of ARB has been going down. So, yeah. The locked amount is ARB tokens, and ARB tokens have a price that fluctuates.
Okay, let's not be the guys who purely criticize and not give them their flowers when they're due. What do you think is the best part about this report? What do you think the foundation have done really well in the last year? I'll tell you something that springs to mind for me that frustrates me. I know I just said we shouldn't be the ones that complain all the time, but something that really frustrates me is the constant lean towards TVL as a metric for success. Do Okay, it's a two-part question. First part question, do you think there are other better measures for success that the foundation could do that actually show users using the chain, so maybe fees or something like that? And second of all, what do you think was the best part of this report, and what do you think the foundation have done really well over the last 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, we have to put this into context, right? Arbitrum is the only L2 that actually is run by a DAO, meaning the DAO actually owns the L2, and Arbitrum is the only one. So there's actually no reference on how to do this right, meaning that the job of the foundation has been incredible to the sense that, Arbitrum is not dead yet, because all the expectations would be, you guys are crazy to launch an L2 and making it fully decentralized, where the on-chain contracts actually control the parameters of the thing and actually secure the value of billions of dollars and yada, 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 right? I think it is a huge success that Arbitrum is still, the best L2 and is still going. And it has the most amount of TVL and value secured as well. Regarding the TVL conversation, Arbitrum has been touting the TVL as its main metric because Arbitrum was leading on TVL. I think it's not anymore, and therefore the positioning changed a little bit for TVS, total value secured, which includes more stuff. Which from a point of view of L2 network security makes more sense. That's at least how L2Beat, which is the watchdog of all L2s in Ethereum, ranks L2s, is by TVS, total value secured. And I do agree with that take, to be honest. Where Arbitrum is still number one on TVS. But yeah, I mean, the Arbitrum Foundation has been able to, continue the success of Arbitrum. And it's the only one doing this, right? There's no other L2 that's been managing by DAO like this. And so it's unprecedented stuff. So I'm very happy that Arbitrum still exists and is still a DAO. For now, at least.
I didn't want to say it, but there is a new vision that has just been announced, which is a little less DAO-like than it was.
Right. But we'll see. I do have a deep belief that Arbitrum is actually a real DAO in the sense that the constituency that composes Arbitrum DAO is very diverse, and people have opinions, and people actually engage. I would consider the DAO dead when people stop engaging, and they haven't yet, right? And there's a whole bunch of ways for people to do that, and they are doing it, right? The anonymous posts that we're having, the Twitter spaces that people are organizing, the organic meetings that are happening in the DAO right now to talk about the strategic objectives that the DAO is setting themselves. All those things are happening now, right? It's not dead yet at all. And so we'll see. It's just a very diverse ecosystem with a bunch of players, everyone with their own agenda, and we're just trying to figure it out without getting in each other's throats too much, And so, I just love the fact that we're actually trying it, and we're actually trying to make it work. Because the lazy approach is, screw all that. We're just going to centralize everything and just, compete that way. Arbitrum is the most decentralized L2. That's, the tagline. And we cannot lose the DAO at all. The DAO is essential for Arbitrum. And even to the point that we might even say that Arbitrum, the L2 network, is the DAO. Because it is owned and controlled by the DAO, effectively, on chain. So yeah, I mean, that's a huge competitive advantage. That's why the DAO was created in the first place. It was created in the first place so that everybody in the world could trust that the rules would not change under their feet willy-nilly by a centralized actor. They would only change after a successful on-chain proposal, and that the whole community and the whole token holders need to agree on. So that's a very big feature.
Klaus, can you see any, or can you try to find any positives from the
Crypto, see, I feel that we've we've killed your vibe with this conversation. you're very I admire a lot your willingness to find positives and a balanced take. And it makes total sense. I don't see all of this as negative, to be honest. Like I like to be in the weeds, and I like to be in the in the nitty gritty of stuff. And the nitty gritty of governance and DAO governance is messy. It is a fucking mess all the time. And so there's I think there's no point in trying to cover the reality of it. Humans are messy. DAO governance is messy.
Let me respond though. Yeah.
So what I do want to do you know what? I think it's unfair that I don't give Paulo the chance to answer the same question. I'll go with you first, Klaus. But what I wanted to say really was, what are the positives of a move in that direction? Because what I do want to say is that I guess DAOs being live organisms is that they can move one way and then they can move the other way. So as we make what seems, I'm going to say it, a move towards centralization, is that a bad thing with the likes of Solana doing so well, with the likes of BNB doing so well? And these are extremely centralized chains. They may as well be run on one person's computer. And they are doing well by various metrics. I was going to say, can you see what are the positives? And yes, it is for the sake of balance, purely because I'm cautious and I am conscious that we have got one side of the argument. And even with me trying to be balanced, I naturally side with decentralization. I naturally side with I don't like these. It's obvious as well as highlighting 16 million and whatnot. But Klaus, please do answer.
Okay. To start, I'll come back to your original question, was like, what do I see as positive about this transparency report and the work that has happened here? I was beneficiary of some of the positive interactions with Arbitrum Foundation and Off-Chain Labs, bringing my own proposal with the GovHack, or the two GovHacks that I have run. And I have to give credit to the Foundation and Off-Chain Labs for being willing to experiment, right? And willing to also, get in the trenches, helping with the creation and the delivery of those. They were there in the room with me, with the team. And I think that's fantastic. However, what I'm witnessing now with this new vision and the new Arbitrum aligned entities, it feels like, a swing back in the other direction. And my fear is that centralization is kind of, I think a reaction back too far, and it's kind of helicopter parenting, like right in the mix of everything. And what the potential cost of that is, you concentrate and become more homogenous in the way of thinking and acting, and there's not space for people who've got outlier ideas or initiatives that could actually make the difference for Arbitrum. And also, it doesn't allow for a fair sharing of opportunity. It just concentrates it to those who are already in the in-group or in favor. And so, people who are already in that position might be, okay, well, that's great, right? Because now we can just run faster when the things that we want to do and get those done. But if you think long term, that may be optimizing for some local maxima that maybe lasts a year. But actually, if we look at the theory of innovation and the cycles of technology and things coming out, the existing structure and people in power have missed a last couple of waves. Arbitrum has been resting on its laurels of DeFi, and it missed AI, it missed agentic AI, it missed meme coins. It's not in a posture of forward, like scouting and discovery of what's next and being willing to actually bet on experiments. It's actually quite conservative and risk averse in that sense. And so you need to have, as an organization, a portfolio of different bets that have different risk and reward and different time horizons. And at the moment, there's not that level of sophisticated thinking in portfolio of activity that we do as a DAO. And so I see, while we may get efficiency and effectiveness in a narrow band, we actually miss the emergent future because we haven't built the right kind of capability and we haven't nourished that in the organization that's going to, detect new trends and double down on those.
And jump on those quickly. What do you think? We've lost Paulo for a few moments. He said he's had to step away from his desk. When Paulo comes back, I will give him a chance to provide some balance, purely because I do think it's I can say this whilst he's not here. I do think it's quite brave for him to be one of the delegates who will stick their head above the line and be prepared to be shot at. But during that, I don't think it's helpful that you, I guess, make a martyr of these people and they burn out. You put everything on them. So what I did want to say, it's brilliant when you do get that pushback. What do you think are the solutions to, I guess, this concentration of power? We did speak briefly during the last episode about a decaying delegation or things of that nature. Are there any other things like that you feel could help the problems that we have with this centralization of power, which, as you said in the last episode, which I thought was really interesting, when the incumbent big delegates and they are also service providers, or they are also the people who are have big products online, which are DeFi products, and so they're not so interested in meme coins, or they're not so interested in AI, or they're not so interested in anything new. How do you, I guess, maybe tone down their power or their heavy-handedness? I guess we've got Paulo back now, so I don't know if you want to answer the question, Klaus, or if I can hand it straight over to Paulo and we can catch him. Excuse me, we can catch him just as he's returned.
A couple of things. I think it requires a certain type of character to participate in these DAOs who's willing to self-sacrifice for a while, right? And you've got to kind of lobby and speak out and make your case. It requires self-starters, right? No one's going to, hand you anything on a silver platter. Unfortunately, in a DAO, you really got to have, a lot of thick skin and a lot of willingness to persevere and put things forward. It seems to be what is required. It might not be ideal, but is what is required, I think. And having courage to speak out, about the types of values that we want to see in the DAO. I think one of my lessons from when I was a software developer and part of agile software development teams, we had something called a blameless retrospective, which is a way of providing feedback, but not making it about he said, she said, or inferring someone's intent. Actually, just keep it about the nuts and bolts, like what is the criteria in good system design that leads to certain kind of outcomes. So rather than making it about an individual or even an organization around the DAO, okay, let's kind of be a bigger man, be a bigger person about it, and think about, okay, what are the kind of properties of this system that we want to build and that will lead to certain kind of outcomes? And, what are the poor design that leads to these other kind of outcomes, right? And if we can actually just have a conversation speaking in those kind of terms, I think that's much more powerful than, this person is trying to capture the DAO or this person's doing X, Y, Z. Yeah.
So, Paulo, whilst you were away, we were singing your praises in unison about the work that you're doing and the opinions that you're putting forward and the questions that you're asking, which we feel are valuable questions. But what I did want to ask you is, what do you feel are some of the solutions that we could have against this sort of concentration of power, which is something that all DAOs really, really struggle with. We had previously said about things like decaying delegates and things like that. Are there any other things like that that you feel would be helpful to Arbitrum in the long term to help decentralize and even out the handedness of the votes, the heavy handedness of the votes?
I mean, I do think I do tend, I'm a designer and I'm a tool builder. I do tend to look at this from the point of view of a tool builder, in the sense that I my bias is to put blame much more on the technologies and tools that we use than on the human, because I know how powerful the tools can be in changing human behavior. We human beings are influenced all the time to the micro stuff levels of behaving in a certain way because of the tools that we use. And as a tool builder myself, I take that responsibility very heavy, because I know that if I design a tool in a way, I will get a certain behavior out of it, right? And I do think that we should be designing tools for DAO governance in a much more thoughtful way, so that the outcomes of DAO governance are way better than what they've been until now. So my take is always from that point of view. So what I'm trying to do about it is create better tools for DAO governance, and while being in the weeds of experiencing it myself, and trying it out myself, and actual doing experiments that put me on the line somehow, right? So my earnings from Arbitrum DAO are all public, and I voluntarily disclose all of them in the forum thread. I think I'm the only delegate that's doing that, I think, in the world. And I also pay 10% of those earnings to whoever delegates to me. So I'm incentivizing people to delegate to me as well. And these are all experiments that I'm running just to figure out where governance is going next. Because, I think that what we're playing around in the DAO space right now will be the primitives for future real world governance. And we need to build it right. In the way that we build the tools for it, in the way that we decide those processes and mechanisms and traditions, and those the way we handle power in the real world as well. So from now, the low-hanging fruit that I see is that the tools that we're using are actually really, really bad. They're not serving us at all. They are sabotaging us. And we need better tools. And so that's what I'm trying to create. I'm trying to create better tools for DAO governance, because I think we can solve it at least from that point. And the impact of a good tool is almost exponential, because if people change their behavior, in the micro level, because a tool offers a little bit more information, a little bit more context, a little bit more insight into what's really happening, a little bit more transparency, then we will have true decentralization, right? The enemy of decentralization is obfuscation, and we can only fight it with more transparency. That includes building the kind of tools that collect as much as information as possible and show them in the right way. And this is a very hard job to do. Technically, it's very hard to get all the information in the same place, and model it and treat it properly. And from user experience point of view, it's also very hard to put all information in the same place in a way that makes sense for people to consume it. So that's what I've been dedicating my last year to. And so in Proposals.app, in the last 3 years in other DAO tooling startups before. And so, yeah, that's where I think we should go. I do want to also praise the work that Offchain Labs, the foundation, Entropy Advisors have been doing in the DAO as well, because this is really, really our job. It's a really hard job to do this. It would be way simpler if everything could be centralized and private information and so on. But there's other players doing that already, right? The role of Arbitrum is not to be the centralized L2. The role of Arbitrum in the world is to be the decentralized L2. and we should own that role, and we should be the best in the world at that. If we try to go towards what other chains are doing, we're going to be pretending to be something else, and we're going to be playing catch up because Base is way better than Arbitrum at being centralized. Wait, 1,000 times better, right? And so we have no chance to compete against Base on becoming centralized as they are, right? We have to compete in a different way.
Yeah.
So we're doing the hard job here on Arbitrum, and all the entities involved are doing the hard job, and we should be proud of what we've done until now. And we should keep on improving it as well, relentlessly improving.
Paulo, that is a phenomenal signing off speech there. I absolutely loved that. It mirrors something that I believe Klaus has said before, and I've been thinking since 2015, that DAOs should be the way humans govern themselves moving forwards. Nice small DAOs, like a little small DAO for your school, little small DAO for your street, little small DAO for this, little small DAO for that. Thank you so much for all of the work you've been doing, the questions you've been asking, and most importantly, the tools you've been building. This was supposed to be a half an hour show. We have done 90 minutes at a canter. I'm sure we could have squeezed another 90 minutes in, but Klaus has got things to do with his life, and unfortunately I don't. So I'll leave. I will let Klaus sign us off. But Paulo, thank you so much for coming. Klaus, is there anything you want to say before we leave?
I just want to echo this piece that Paulo said there. I see there's a beautiful promise that Arbitrum can be the most decentralized, actual DAO in the world, and actually compete on that, right? So this phrase I've used, like governance is the product, and people actually come and build on Arbitrum because they trust that it has the best, governance stack, socially, technically, financially. Yeah, I have a dream.
All right, Paulo, where can people go to find out more about you? I think we've lost him.
Frozen out.
Yeah, he's frozen out. Okay, well, I will put Paulo's, I guess we got his Twitter, and a link to Proposals.app into the description below. So thank you all for watching. If you've made it this far, I know it's been a riveting conversation, to be honest with you. Paulo's been the guest we've dreamed of. So and he's obviously left us now. So yeah, thank you, Paulo, once again for coming. I will close my screen share. Klaus, it's been a pleasure doing this episode with you. Hopefully on the next episode we get one of the people who Paulo has suggested, so we get the other side of the vision discussion. So Eva, I couldn't write those names down because they sounded they didn't sound like they spell. Oh, we've got him back. No, we've lost him again. So yeah, so
I can give those to you afterwards.
Yeah, we will see you all on the next episode of DAOwatch Arbitrum. I've been Cryptosi. This has been Klaus. Adios.